Assalamu alaikum guys, how are you doing? You okay? Okay, let's move on towards the test today. Actually, you all know that actually getting 8 out of 9 it's quite a tough target. But recently I appeared in IELTS exam and I scored 8. How I scored it, I would like to share my experience with you. And plus, I'll give you some tips how you gonna make it done. So let's move on towards the first tip. First of all guys, when it comes to IELTS, it all depends on your personality, whether you have the confidence or not. So if you're confident that actually you're gonna achieve it, then probably you're gonna achieve it. And if you don't have the confidence, it is a bit difficult for yourself to score 8 or 8.5 in IELTS exam. Recently I appeared in IELTS exam and simply I followed some rules and some tips and tricks and I got really good score. I would suggest you to simply follow those tips and tricks. The first one was confidence, of course. You got to be very confident that actually you're gonna achieve it. If you lose your confidence, probably that would give a bad impression to your examiner and you won't be able to get a good score. Apart from that, the second tip is simply there are like 4 things you need to follow. First of all, when you speak, that would make a sense grammatically. The second thing I would mention here is lexical resources. Lexical resources are actually a wide range of vocabulary which you use while you're talking. The third thing I would suggest is cohesions. Cohesion is something more like, how balanced your sentence structures are. And the fourth thing I would mention here is coherence. How logical conversations you make and how you speak and how you relate the things in your conversation. So if you follow these 4 tips, then probably you can make a good score. And the 5th tip is simply, there are so many blogs, visit those blogs, and there are so many test patterns there are so many sample tests there. Simply take a test and practice it. How you gonna practice it, I will give you a demo also. Recently, as I've told you, I appeared in IELTS exam in August, I guess, and I scored 8. And what I did is simply I took the test from different blogs and I practiced them, and I went through all those 400 questions. They're like probably 400 basic questions. If you go through all in different test patterns, like I had about 40 tests which I prepared, and I went through all those questions in the basic part of IELTS speaking. And after that, what I did is cue cards. Of course, I prepared about 35 cue cards also for that to achieve 8. And the third thing I did is, of course, the complex questions. There were like 110 questions which I prepared. And how you gonna prepare it? Like as I've told you, there's so many blogs. You can simply visit them. Just simply write down on Google search that actually you're looking for IELTS speaking tests, and you're gonna get through so many. So let's move on towards our first test. And let's see how I answer it. This is how you need to answer to get 8 or 8.5, even 7.5. As I told you, I recently appeared and I scored 8. And of course, it could be an average answer, either 7.5, 8 or 8.5. There are different examiners, they're gonna evaluate you according to your confidence and according to your performance. So I stand somewhere about 7.5 to 8.5. This is what I believe anyway. So I won't give myself plus saying that actually I can achieve 8, 8.5. But recently I appeared and the examiner gave me 8 bands out of 9. So let's move on towards the first test. I would go through some basic questions. Let me see the topic first. And the topic is about yourself. So my first question is, what is your full name? If the examiner asks me this question, what is your full name? So I would say, well, my name is Muhammad Amjad Rafiq. However, I'm known as Amjad in immediate circle. You may call me Amjad. So it is my first answer. So if the examiner gonna ask me the second question, let's see how I answer it. Uh, could you tell me your full name, please? Okay, as I told you, I would say simply, well, my full name is Muhammad Amjad Rafiq. However, I'm known as Amjad. You may call me so. That's all. So let's move on towards our third question now. Can I have your name, please? So again, my answer would be the same. Uh, of course, my name is Muhammad Amjad Rafiq. However, I'm known as Amjad. You may call me so. So let's move on our fourth question. How can I address you? Again, the same answer. I would say simply, my name is Muhammad Amjad Rafiq. You may call me Amjad. That's all. So let's move on our next question. How they can actually ask you the question. Does your name have any special meanings? Well, my answer would be probably yes. My name have a very special meaning. Amjad stands for respectful, elderly, and then of course the super grandparents or something like that. So respected. So this is what my name stands for. So let's move on towards our next question now. Is your name important to you? Again, of course, it is very important for myself, as it was given by my dad, who really loved me, who took good care of me, who brought me up. So definitely, my name is very special to me. So do for my family. That's all. So let's move on towards our next question. Do Pakistani people like changing their names? Why? Well, I would say sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't really consider it. What happens sometimes, the parents, they give their kids name. The name are really old-fashioned, and people really get annoyed with those names, having those names. So they sometimes feel like they need to change their names. So they change it also. Otherwise, if the name is modern one, I won't think that people would like to change it. And apart from this, some people believe that names have a special effect on their personality. So if their personality doesn't really match with their name, so they consider changing their name. So it really depends on people how they take their names. That's all. So let's move on towards our next question now. Have you ever changed your name? Why not? Well, I'm about 38 now, and I believe I spent a good 38 years. There were so many moments when I had to use my nickname, and there were so many moments when I lived outside of my country where people found it difficult to pronounce my name. At that time, I used the nicknames also. So yes, I did it. Why I did it, I explain it also. So let's move on now towards our next question. Why do some people like to change their names? I think I explained it earlier that there are people who believe that their name doesn't really match their personality, so they need to change it. The second scenario is when people believe their name is typical, and they don't like their name, and they are like old-fashioned names, so they consider changing their names also. And some people like somebody, for example, I like my missus and I would like to change it for him, for her, and if my missus asks me to or call me with a different name, or if my parents want me to have a different name, even if I have close circle of friends and they believe that actually I need to have a special name and they call me with that name, then probably I would consider changing it also. So these are the scenarios when people like to change their names. Okay, let's move on towards our next question. Okay, well, next question is again the same one. How do I spell my name? So if I would like to answer it, I would simply say it's simple. A M J A D. Or I would also say A for apple, M for Mike, J for juggler, and A for apple, and D for delta. This is how I can actually spell my name. This is a condition when actually I'm on phone, otherwise I won't like to change my name. So here was the first part of the questions, and I told you how I would respond them. So let's move on towards our second part now. Okay, here I have a cue card. So as you know that actually for cue card, you have 2 minutes. First, you can make your short notes, and then you got to talk. I would suggest you don't be too particular towards the information you're going to provide. Rather, be very easy. As your examiner can't really judge, he's got only 1 minute to judge you also. If you've got 1 minute to talk, he or she got 1 minute to judge you. So be fluent, be confident, and of course, whatever points they give you to talk about, you can consider talking about those points, but don't be too particular. For example, if you're telling them a story of a movie and you forgot the name of the character, then probably it's you're gonna get confused in it, you're gonna get annoyed, and probably when you're gonna stop, your examiner would probably take an impression of you that actually you don't know how to talk. So this is a bad thing. So I would suggest you, what you need to do is simply talk about regular things. Say for example, if somebody asks me a story of a movie, so I would rather put some information from my family background, from how they found the movie, and how my friends liked the movie, and where did I hear about the movie, things like that, instead of telling the story or telling the particular names of the characters. Because if I'm gonna forget the name of the characters, then probably it is going to be a bit difficult for myself to explain to make sense. So let's move on towards our first cue card. I've got 2 minutes to think about it. Let me tell you about the topic. The topic is describe a beautiful place to visit in your country. You should say where it is, how to get there, what there is to do when you are there, and explain why you recommend this place. Guys, I've got 2 minutes. I would think about it. What I'm gonna think, as I've told you, I would think how would I relate the things, and again, I have got some basic tips for you. Talk about your friends. You heard about the place from your friends, then say you went there with your family, and of course your parents really liked it, your siblings, your spouse really like it, things like that. And then of course you can compare the place with your friends also, with other places, so things like that. Okay, so let's move on towards the topic. I will talk and you can see how I talk, and after that you can practice it at home, and this is the best way to practice it, and this is how you're gonna gain 8 minutes. So let's move on towards the topic now. I've got 2 minutes and they are almost done. So let's see, describe a beautiful place. So I would say, I've been to many places. I've been to England, I lived there for long. Then of course in Pakistan I've been to many places also. One of them is Murray Hills. Murray is a beautiful place in Pakistan. It is a famous monuments in a country. It was developed by Britishers while they were living in Pakistan or in subcontinent, and the place is very popular and famous all over the country. We Lahori people often go there. Apart from Lahore, people from Karachi go there, and they have good time there also. The service is great, and people love to go there with their families, and the place is about 400 kilometers far from Lahore, and people, especially the school groups, go there. They do camping there, and they stay there for long, for good hours. Even they've got many hotels there for residents, and you can stay there for as long as you want, and all the basic necessities are available. They've got hiking tracks where you can hike around, and of course the hiking tracks are really good one. They've got fences around, and you don't really have to be worried about getting injured or stuff like that. And let me see the second point now, and probably I will make sense. As I've told you, it is in Pakistan. It is in the northern areas of Pakistan, in fact, about 400 miles from Lahore, as I've told you. Lahore is comparatively quite a warm place if we compare Murray Hills with Lahore, and although it's not far, too far afield. Why is that? Because you can get there in like 4 hours if you've got your own means, your own vehicle. So you can go there, you can have good time, and first of all you need to if you take motorway from Lahore, you will get to Rawalpindi. It's one of the famous city nearby the Islamabad city, which is our capital, and you can refresh yourself there. You can stay there for a couple of hours. It's a nice city, as I told you. So after that you can make your way towards Murray Hills. So when you get there, there is a place called Mall Road. Mall Road is one of the best monument in Lahore, as I've told you. So you're gonna have really great time there, and I would suggest you to visit it. You will love it. The temperature in winter drops down to minus 10 and minus 50. I'm not sure though, anyway, because I did no research on it. So in summer the temperature is really great. It's still around zero, and the clouds are beautiful. They are all over your what you call all over the hills, and you can see them, you can touch them, and apart from that they've got green hills there, and the whole area is beautiful. And let me move on towards the next point. Let me see, and then probably I will talk. Okay, how to get there? Probably I've already explained it. I mean, how you're gonna get there. Simply you can take a bus from, of course, Lahore. It will take you to Rawalpindi city, and from Rawalpindi you can take a mini bus and you can get to Murray Hills, and it won't cost you even that much. If you're living in Lahore, probably it would cost you like 800 rupees for one way travel. If you get to Rawalpindi, then probably you will have to pay another 200, 250 or 300. I'm not sure about the fare though. So if you go in your own private vehicle, it's about 400 miles. If you simply calculate your fuel cost, you know better how you're gonna calculate it, which car you're using and stuff like that. So let me move on towards a third hint of cue card. That was what is there to do when you go there. Well, again, I would say there are many things. First of all, if you go to Mall Road, that is quite busy. There are so many shops. You can buy their shoes, clothes, and stuff like that. And of course, they're like jewelry for ladies. Perfumes are there, and you can get there on cheap prices and on bargain prices. And the food quality, I won't suggest you to have the food there, because the food quality is not very good as compared to Lahore, and the water is not as tasty as you're gonna get in Lahore. Probably it is better if you use mineral water, and you can take your water bottle with you. You don't have to really drink water once you get there, but because it is cold so over there, so you don't really have to drink plenty of water. So these are things. I mean, apart from that, I mean, they've got hiking tracks there, and on hiking tracks you can experience wildlife, especially the crows. They are quite big. And apart from crows, they don't have many birds though. Apart from crows, I never saw no other bird. So every time I've been there, I mean, I have never seen any single bird apart from a crow. So there are like so many crows, and they're quite big in size, and they are quite what you call familiar with the people. They don't really get scared from tourists, so they can come very closer to you. And apart from crows, there are so many monkeys. Monkeys are beautiful. They are also very friendly. They come closer to the tourists and they ask for food, and even the tourists can feed them with chickpeas. Chickpeas are called chana, the desi kala chana. They also call it chickpeas. So you can serve them or feed them. You're gonna love it while feeding them. It's just really good feeling when you're feeding them. Apart from monkeys, they've got some cheetahs also. So be careful about cheetahs. Don't hike around after after the evening, especially once it's dark, so it is not safe to be around. So I won't suggest you to stay too long once it's Maghrib or Maghrib prayer or sunset. I would suggest you to make your way towards your hotel if you're staying there. So this is how I'm going to be talking about the cue card. There is another point. Let me see how it is. Well, why would I recommend this place? Obviously, it's in Pakistan. It's economical. It's not very expensive. You can go there. You can stay there. Be careful about the hotels. You got to bargain with them once you get the hotel. So they would probably ask you for extra money for services. So once you get a hotel, just let them know that actually you need these services, and you won't pay more than that for the. Once you make a deal, probably it is a better option to stay there. Yeah, if you don't make a deal with them, for example, if you need water to have a bath in the morning, if you make a deal with them, then probably they're gonna get you the free water. If you don't do it, then probably they're gonna charge you that actually you need hot water, and we don't have a supply of hot water, so they're probably gonna charge you. So it is a good way. They actually you already make your way that actually I would pay for these services and I won't pay for these. If you make a deal, then probably it is a good way to stay there. So let's move on towards our third part of IELTS speaking, and let's see how how I would give my impression. So to get 8 or more than 8, let's see. So there are like 2 or 3 follow-up questions. So let's see what are they. Okay, the first follow-up question is, why do you think people like to travel to different places in their free time? Well, you see, there are certain reasons to travel around. First of all, when you travel, you come to know so many things. You learn a lot. So it is a good way to increase your knowledge. If you visit different places, of course you come across people, and this is just a blessing that actually you're gonna get so much knowledge once you're traveling. It is privilege. If I've got the free time, I would love to travel. The second thing is, people work a lot, and once they are at work, they get tired of it. They need break. They might need rest. So it is also obvious that if you go to some nice places or natural places, you get the opportunity to relax yourself. So again, this is the second reason. The third reason is, while you're working, you can't really manage time for your families, for your spouse, for your kids. So once you are out of work, then probably you will have the opportunity to share your ideas with your family if they're not happy with you, and if they are complaining that actually you can't make time for them. So once you're out there, you will have a time to build some memories for future, and these are the things. Let's move on towards the next question now. Okay, how do you see the tourism changing in your country in the future? Well, again, when it comes to tourism, I see we've been suffering from terrorism for many years. It's been about 2 decades now. We've been a victim. We lost 50,000 people in this war, and it was really a bad time or scenario or time span which we spent. So now the time is changing. the country is developed, we don't have much terrorism around, so it's quite safe. So I would suggest, I mean, there is a big change since 2000. Back in 2000 we had terrorism, we had so many target killing, and we had so many, what do you call, bomb blasts. So there are no more bomb blasts, there is no terrorism, people are even, I mean, very friendly, they would love to see you around, things like that. So let's move on towards our next question now. How do you see, okay, the second question is gone. Okay, why is it important to protect the countryside? Why is it important to protect the countryside? Well, there are, I would say, I mean, there are certain reasons to protect our countrysides. First of all, I mean, countrysides are the best places to save our culture. Majority of Pakistani community is living in countrysides. The cities only have a very few numbers as compared to the countrysides. So if we save our countrysides, of course we can save our heritage, our culture also. The second thing is wildlife, of course. Conservation, we don't have much when it comes to money to spend on animal or wildlife conservation programs. So if we save our countrysides and the life there, then probably we would also be saving the wildlife there. So it is good to save them, simple as that. So let's move on towards our next question now. In what ways is the countryside in danger in your country? Let me repeat the question. In what ways is the countryside in danger in your country? Well, I would say industrialization is a cause of putting our countrysides in danger. The second reason, I would say, the fertilizers are also not good enough. I mean, once you put fertilizer to your crops, there's so many wildlife, wild birds. They when they take the grains from the countrysides, so I mean, when they feed there, they also take the, what do you call it, they also take as I've said, like, you know, the fertilizers, they eat them, and when they eat the fertilizers, of course they die out, so we lose our what do you call it, wildlife. So let's move on towards our next question now. In what ways is the countryside important for a country? Probably I've already explained how it is safe, whether it's safe or not. So